morning, dear students. I am Ms. Navida Sheikh from Brahan Mumbai Mahanagar Palika MCGM virtual class. I welcome all my dear students to another and interesting session. In today's session, we'll be learning something new and interesting from a science textbook. So let's get started. Good morning, dear students. I welcome all my dear students to another and interesting session in today's lesson that we are learning, that is the living world part 2. Now, as you know that we have already completed the first part of it, and today we'll be learning a few more characteristics of the living organisms in this chapter. So let's get started. We all learned that we grow, and in order to grow we need food. But what exactly happens to the food that we eat inside our body? Once you eat the food, it goes into your body, and inside the body there are various organs where it goes. Okay, like from the mouth it goes into the esophagus, from the esophagus it goes into the stomach, from the stomach it goes into the small intestine, large intestine, and then from the anus you give out the waste. But whatever food that you eat, all the nutrients from it is absorbed, and whatever remaining unwanted waste material is given out. Now that material is very important because it is harmful for our body. Okay, so it is given out from the anus. It is a semi-liquid substance which is in the form, we could also say that we call it as stool or feces, which come out from the anus, and that is one way of removing the waste from your body. Now, so another way of removing the waste is through the urine. Now you have a pair of kidneys in your body which are responsible for removing the waste products from your body that is present in the blood. Now this is an excretory system which is present in your body. These are the two kidneys that you have inside your body. Then these tube-likes are called as ureters, which helps to pass out the urine into the urinary bladder, and in the urinary bladder the urine gets collected and it is given out. Okay, so this is also a part of excretion from your body of the waste products. Apart from that, you also give out carbon dioxide gas through the lungs. So, living things do not only eat food, but we also excrete. Excrete means we give out waste products. So, the removal of waste product from our body is called as excretion. So, the removal of waste products like urine, sweat, exhalation of carbon dioxide gas, these are ways of excretion. Okay, and the organs are which are responsible for excretion in our body is kidneys, then you have lungs. Okay, you have your digestive system which helps you to remove the waste products out. So excretion, in other words, we can say waste substances are formed during many processes that takes place in the bodies of animals. These are called excreta, and the process of eliminating them from the body is called excretion. Animals have specific organs for excretion, as I've explained you all earlier. Like humans we have seen, and other animals and plants, all living organisms have this characteristic. Like here you can see a rabbit, and the rabbits also give out excreta from their body. Animals like cow, you must have seen cow dung. Okay, that is the waste given out from their body. The plants, they shed leaves. Now plants store some of the waste products in their leaf, and that leaf falls off when they dry. Okay, so plants too excrete. For example, some plants shed leaves in a specific season because the waste substances are stored in the leaves of plants and are shed along with the leaves. Okay, so plants have all the waste substances in them, and when they shed it out means they are giving out the waste. Now apart from that, they also give out carbon dioxide gas and oxygen gas and water vapor when it is not required. Okay, during the process of respiration, plants give out carbon dioxide gas, and during the process of photosynthesis, they give out oxygen gas and water vapors. These are all waste product for the plant. Okay, and they give out it through the small openings in the leaves called as the stomata. Apart from that, there are certain substances like raisins. You must have seen small brownish color substance on the barks of the tree. Now that is also a type of waste product which comes from the plant. These are also used for various purposes like varnishes, etc. for making varnishes and adhesives. Then here you can see this is a rubber plant. The bark of the tree, when it is scraped, you see this white milky color latex coming out. Okay, so this latex is used to make many things like rubber gloves, and it is used in many things that we use in our day-to-day life. Okay, so rubber gloves is a very simple example to remember, which is made from the waste product of the plant. Okay, the gum that you use in your everyday stationery, that is also something which used to be obtained from the plants. Okay. Now there is an experiment that you can do by yourself. You can, if you have a plant, you have potted a plant, you need to just cover a part of it or a leaf of it with a plastic bag. Okay, and tie it out and keep it for a few days. Okay, observe it after 6 to 7 hours. Okay, if you can keep it for one day, keep it for one day, or only for a few hours. If you keep it, you will notice that there are droplets of water which are collected on the inside of the bag. Okay, water droplets are collected. It means that plant was giving out what? Water vapor. It was giving out vapors which condensed and formed droplets. Okay, so that is because of transpiration, because as we learned that plants give out oxygen gas, they give out carbon dioxide, and they also give out water vapor. So in order to see whether they are giving out water vapor, we can do this experiment and see it by ourselves. Yes, they give out water vapor, and that is a type of waste product that is excreted from the plants. Okay, so excretion is a very important characteristics. Now, if you have ever noticed that if you touch a mimosa plant or a touch me not plant, what happens to the leaf? They tend to close, right? Immediately. Now that means they are showing some kind of movement. Yes, when we touch it, immediately it closes. Other than that, if I put a light at you at once, okay, in a dark room, and if I suddenly place light onto your face, what happens? You at once, what do? You cover your eyes. Now all this example that I'm giving you, it is related to a very important characteristic that happens only in living things, that is responsiveness to stimuli. When you smell your tasty and favorite food item, you get water into your mouth, right? Now that is something which is not happening accidentally. It is because of a system that is present in your body which helps to remove that water from your mouth. Okay, and that is also a type of responsiveness to stimuli. Apart from humans, even animals, if they see danger, they tend to run. If you see the zebra, it is running. Why? Because it has two, three lions attacking it. Okay, and it tends to run with so much of speed. Now, why is he doing it? Because he wants to save his life, and that is a type of stimulus that is there, which asks him to run very fast. So living things act in various ways when responding to a stimulus. Means if there is danger, the zebra or other animals will run. Okay, that is, they are responding to the stimulus. Means danger was the stimulus. Same way, if you talk about the tasty aroma of the food, that is the stimulus. And when your mouth starts watering, that is the response to that. Okay, that is a response of your body to the stimulus. Now, if you keep a potted plant and if you place it in a window, grows towards the sunlight. If you ever done this, if you notice it, and if you have not, you can do it. Okay, you can put some seeds of mustard and see that whether in which direction do they grow. It means that the plants also show movement. They move. Okay, we say that plants are they are in a one particular place only, but no, they even move. So living things move of their own accord. Here you can see on the on this example, the plants are moving onto the side of the sun where they are getting sunlight. Okay, so this is a type of movement that the plants tend to show because their roots are fixed in one place. They cannot move like us. They also grow in the roots tend to move in the downward direction and the stem tends to move in the upward direction. That means they are showing movement. Apart from that, there are few more examples in our day-to-day life. That means when you feel cold, you tend to cover yourself, you shiver. When you feel there's too much of heat, we sweat. Okay, if you get a cut on your finger, you feel pain. Okay, you get blood coming, you have blood coming on. Then if there's too much sound, you tend to put in your hands on your ears. And if there's certain very tasty food which is cooking around, and if you smell it, that time also you start to drool. So the movement or the change which takes place in living things at such a time is their response to a particular stimulus. An event that occurs in our surroundings is a stimulus. The ability of living things to respond to a stimulus is called their responsiveness to stimuli. So responsiveness to stimuli is a characteristic of living things. All living things do that, whether animals, plants or human beings. The next and important characteristic is movement. Now apart from humans, we as I told you in the previous picture, plants move. We all know that we can run, we can walk, we can sit, we can move around. Okay, so we show movement. If you see a rock or a chair kept, it doesn't move on its own. So it is an important characteristic of living thing. You can see the birds here, they are flying. That means they are moving. You can see this frog jumping. It is also showing movement, right? So movement is shown only in living organism. Here you can see a few examples of living organisms which are showing movement. They move in order of their requirement to hunt, to save themselves, to eat food, to find food. Alright, so I hope with this movement part is clear to you all. Now the next important characteristic is reproduction. We have seen plants grow, animals grow, and we have also seen, you must be having cats or dogs in your vicinity, you must have seen they have small kids. Okay, now that is very important. Even though you must have seen it in your house also, you must be having younger brothers and sisters. Now living things produce other living things like themselves. Okay, if you see a cat will produce a offspring like itself only. Okay, some animals give birth to the young ones, some lay eggs. Their young ones hatch out of the eggs. Some living organisms which lay egg, like the hen, frogs, snakes, duck. These are animals which lay eggs, and these eggs will hatch after some times and produce a similar looking young ones from them. Okay. On the other hand, you can see elephant, human baby, you can see monkey, you can see dogs. So these are animals or living organisms which give direct birth to the young ones. Okay. A child, okay, like in humans, reproduce. Elephants, cat, some animals which lay egg, like the ducks, and after a few months these eggs will hatch, and you have the similar looking young ones coming out from it. See, there are some animals which give lay eggs, and there are some animals which give direct birth to the young ones, like cats, dog, monkeys, human beings, elephant. So the process by which living things generate a new living thing like itself is called reproduction or procreation. Okay, the process of production of bringing out a new living thing like itself is called as reproduction. Very simple. Okay. So as we have reproduction in animals, we have reproduction in plants also. Here you can see a rose plant. It is grown from a small tiny seed. Okay, and it gives out a entire plant from it. Okay, and later this rose plant will give out further seeds, and that will help in the growth of other plants which look similar to that, right? And and there are few more ways of reproduction in plants, like if you just cut a stem and pot it, you will have another rose plant coming out. There are certain leaves, if you just keep this leaf into the soil, it will grow into another plant. Stems, if you just take a sprouting potato, if you keep it under the soil, it will grow into a new plant. Okay, so some roots, there are certain stems, there are certain leaves where they help in reproduction of the plant. Okay, producing a similar looking organism like themselves. Next important characteristic of living thing is a definite lifespan. If you look at this picture, you will see that there's a small baby, and over a few years you see their changes in their physical appearance, in their height, in their way they walk, they talk, their voice. So it keeps changing. That means, and after a few years they tend to die. So all living things have a definite lifespan. They do not live like plants for n number of years. Okay, so and they do not grow also throughout their life. They grow till a particular age. Okay, so if you see in humans, you must have seen it in your house only. If you go through an album, old album of your parents or your grandparents, you see how their structure was and how they have over the period of year their body is undergoing changes, and eventually they die. Okay, and similar to that, even animals have a particular lifespan. At a certain age of life, living things become capable of reproduction. Later on in their life reproduction stage, their organs become weak, and still later their life comes to an end. In other words, living things die. So the lifespan of different animals and plants are different. For example, the lifespan of a dog is about 12 to 18 years, while the ostrich lives for 50 years. And here are a few examples of animals and their how long do they live. A housefly lives for 1 to 4 months. A dog, as we said, discussed 16 to 18 years. An ostrich 50 years. And an elephant can live for up to 90 years. Okay. There is an turtle which was found in Galapagos Island in South America, which is about 170 years old, and you can see how huge this turtle is. Okay, so this is a giant turtle which is about 170 years old. Whereas on the other hand, you see this tiny looking insect which is called as the mayfly. Okay, whose lifespan is only from 1 hour to 24 hours. So there depends upon from living organism to living organism for how many years they can live. Okay, it is not same for every living thing. It is different from one organism to the other. Now you must have seen a honeybee hive. You can see the structure, how it looks. It has got small holes, okay, and a proper shape. Now you have seen the small compartments of a honeycomb. These small compartments are joined together to form a honeycomb. They are not separate. They are joined with each other. They are linked. Okay. Similar to the brick that you see in the wall of your house. If you see the bricks, they are connected with each other with the cement, and the wall has brick, and to construct a wall we firmly join the bricks together so that it gives a proper support and structure to the house, right? Similar to that, even we have a cellular structure. Our body is made up of cells. All living organisms have cells in them. Like here in this picture, you can see single cells. Okay, this living organisms which are made up of only one cell or single cell are called as unicellular organism. The amoeba and some other organism which are very minute are called as microorganisms. Multicellular organisms, multi means many. Okay, so if you see a tree, in the tree there are many cells. Like here you can see this one hole that you see is one cell. So there are so many cells, right? This is just one slice of the part of the plant. Okay, so you can imagine how many cells are there in the plant itself. And when the organisms are made up of more than one cell, they are called as multicellular organism, like man, cow, mouse, cockroaches, elephants, banyan tree, the onion plant, etc. They are all multicellular. Now here this is a living thing, that is human being, and our body is also made up of many cells, and hence we are also multicellular organism. So the cellular structure is the main characteristic of living things, even though the number of cells may vary from person to person or from living thing to living thing. Okay, living things will have a cellular structure because cell is very important to carry out all the functions of your life. Okay, so depending upon from individual to individual, from organism to organism, the cellular structure will vary. Okay, so with this I hope all the characteristics are understood to you. Let's have a look at all the characteristics all together. The characteristics of living things. So what we learned throughout in these two sessions, let's just quickly revise. The first thing that we learned was growth. Animals grow from certain period of their life. Plants, however, grow as long as they live. Respiration. Animals have specific organs for respiration, while plants respire through microscopic pores on their leaves and stems. Excretion. The process of eliminating waste products from the body is called excretion. Reproduction. All living things have the ability to reproduce. Responsiveness to stimuli. Living things move because of their ability to respond to stimuli. Movement. Plants show spontaneous movements, but they cannot leave their place and go elsewhere as animals do. A definite lifespan. Living things have a definite lifespan at the end of which they die. A cellular structure, the smallest unit of living thing, is called the cell. Alright. I hope all the characteristics of living things are understood to you. We'll be meeting in the next session with something new and interesting. Till then, thank you.
If you liked our video, please subscribe to our channel and do not forget to hit the like button.
Hope this session was quite useful to you. In the next coming period, we'll learn something new and interesting. Till then, thank you.